When we got to that point and looked at Teet on screen, I was shocked that I wasn't prettier for many years. Dustin Hoffman was one of Hollywood's most respected actors, a method legend with 12 Oscars, dozens of famous roles, and a reputation for being really good at emotions, but behind the scenes, things weren't so nice. No, at 87 stories are coming out soon, told by Hoffman himself. Others be the people who worked closest to Hyman. They show a very different picture. Mean fights on movie sets, tricks, cold treatment that lasted for years, and effuments that went way too far. Most actors will don't dare do these things. These aren't just celebrity fights. These are Evan people. Dustin Hoffman had real problems with co-stars. People he worked with, even young stars whose careers were never same after they met him. Some of the names on this list will shock you. Others may leave you wondering how these stories stayed hidden for so long. Meryl Streep, the slap that wasn't planned. Most people think Kramer versus Kramer was just a sad-divorce movie, but behind the scenes, it was something else. Complete a lie. According to Meryl Streep, working with Dustin Hoffman wasn't just hard, it was scary. During one emotional courtroom scene, Hoffman did something no actor should ever do. Without warning, has slapped her really hard. No warning, no heads up. It wasn't in the script. It wasn't in the script. It was real, and it shocked Deverian on set. But for Hoffman, it was all to make the acting better. Hadn't stopped there. Just before filming that same scene, he brought up Streep's personal sadness, the recent death of her boyfriend, John Cazale, knowing it would make her cry for real. In his mind, that was good acting. But to Streep, it was me and tricks. She was young, just getting started in Hollywood, and she had to handle one of her first big roles while being emotionally hurt on camera. Hoffman was already a star, and the power wasn't fair at all. For years she kept quiet. The film went on, towing 5 Oscars, including Best Actor for Hoffman. But years later, Streep told people about it, calling his behavior crossing the line. That's putting it nicely. Some people still say it Madethi acting more real, but others ask, co-real is too real. At what point does acting become hurting someone? What people saw on screen was raw, moving, unforgettably. Now we know it hurt someone, and Hoffman's need to control everything didn't end there. In fact, his next fight almost destroyed the entire movie. Sidney Pollack, director who almost quit if Tootsie felt crazy. It's because it was the film became one of Dustin Hoffman's biggest successes, but behind the scenes, it was like a warrant. The man fighting with him was director Sidney Pollack. Pollack had worked with major stars before: Redford, Fonda, Streisand, but Hoffman brought a level off fighting he hadn't seen from day one. They fought over everything: character choices, camera angles, even the feeling off movie. Hoffman questioned every decision, rewrote lines while filming, and constantly stopped practice with his own ideas. At one point, Pollack said directing Hoffman was like trying to ride a tornado, unpredictable, loud, and always one step away from disaster. The fighting got so bad Pollack thought about quitting the project completely, but leaving would have ruined the film. So has stayed barely when one of the actors dropped out of a key supporting role. Hoffman demanded Pollack take the part himself. Pollack said no, he was a director, not an actor. But Hoffman wouldn't give up. Eventually, Pollack gave in and played Hoffman's agent, adding another problem to their already bad relationship. The irony: their constant fighting off camera ended up making some of the film's best scenes. That combative, edgy relationship you see between them, that wasn't acting, it was real. Crew members later said that filming was like walking on thin ice. He never knew if you'd get greatness or a big fight, but somehow through the cow's Tootsie became a classic. And while Pollack could fight back, Nodavarian, who worked with Hoffman, had thought kind of power, especially the one is just starting out. Wendy Riss, the meeting that changed everything. Wendy Riss was a rising playwright in the early 1990s, feeling good about a successful stage show when she got a meeting with Dustin Hoffman and his producing partner. It felt like her big break, the kind off chance that could start a screenwriting career overnight. According to Riss, the meeting went wrong almost right away. She came in totic about her script, but Hoffman, she said, turned the conversation Toward her personal life, he reportedly medicaments that had nothing to do. Project then suggested they go to a hotel and talk about things more resade. No trying to laugh it off and shift focus back to the work, the feeling changed instantly. She said the energy in the room went cold, the pitch was brushed off, and she never heard back. Her script never moved forward, and the moment Thatchold had started her career became quiet, dead end. What hurt most was with a pant. Afterward, Riss told colleagues. Hoping for support instead, she was warned, "Don't push this, it's Dustin Hoffman, you'll lose." And so she stayed quiet for years, not because she was scared but because she thought no one would believe her. It wasn't until 2017 Thatch shared her story publicly, not for revenge, but to finally explain why her early success in Hollywood seemed to disappear. Overnight, despite the setback, Riz did eventually break into TV, working on shows like The Killing, but she never forgot how quickly unmeeting with the wrong person could slam a door shut, and the truth is she wasn't alone. Others had difficult times with Hoffman, to some of them much earlier in his career and in front of the whole world. Terry Gare, the co-star, who called him out. Terry Gare was no stranger to weird actors. She'd worked with everyone from Gene Wilder to Francis Ford Coppola, but when it came to Dustin Hoffman on the set of Tootsie Von, she had her limits. In interviews years later, Gare didn't hold back. She described Hoffman as controlling juxtist and constantly putting himself into decisions that weren't his to make, while she played the sweet, struggling actress in front of the camera. Off camera, she was dealing with co-star, who seemed more interested in directing than acting. She said Hoffman gave her unwanted line readings, Trito, changed her performance, and eventually langed the director's notes in front of the cast. It was like he couldn't help himself. Gare, sharp as ever, described him as a pain in the butt, but the humor couldn't hide the real frustration dearth. She once joked that Sheshold have gotten a second paycheck just for putting up with him behind these scenes. She said it felt like Hoffman wanted credit for every moment, even Theon's, that weren't his, and Gare wasn't scared. She had years of experience seeing both comedy and drama, and she knew she was being pushed around Butte instead of fighting Hoffman directly. She let the tension build up and then let it spill out later in interviews with that signature dry wit. What's telling is that she never said she hated the film. She just made it clear that working on it wasn't the fun, feel-good experience it appeared to be. And while Gare put up with it with biting sarcasm, others took a different approach, staying far, far away from Hoffman. Altogether, John Malkovich, actor who refused to work with him, you'd think that if two acting powerhouses like John Malkovich and Dustin Hoffman were ever in the same film, sparks would fly. But not the good kind, except they never actually work together. And that's not by accident. Malkovich, known for his intensity and brutal honesty, never held back when asked about Hoffman in an interview. Heflatout called him a bit of a bully, and didn't mean it as a joke. He was talking about the way Hoffman treated coasters, crew members, and even directors, said. According to Malkovich, Hoffman's reputation came before him, and not in a good way. Word spread quickly in theater and film circles. If you worked with Dustin, prepare for big ego control and theater sense that you were somehow doing it wrong, even without working together. Malkovich had seen enough from watching and from colleagues to form a very clear opinion, and in Hollywood, that's rare. Actors usually play nice. Malkovich, not so much. He wasn't gossiping, he was warning, and yet all off that still seems small compared to what came next. A story from a young intern that would shake Hoffman's legacy to its core. Anna Graham Hunter, the intern who never forgot. In 1985, Anna Graham Hunter was a 17-year-old intern on the set of Death of a Salesman, where she worked alongside one of her acting heroes, Dustin Hoffman, but instead of inspiration, she left with a story she would keep to herself for over 30 years. According to Hunter, her time on set was filled with uncomfortable moments. Hoffman, she said, frequently made crude jokes in her presence, The kind that made her feel small, embarrassed, and out offless what was brushed off as humor back down. Didn't feel right to her even at the time she wrote it all down in letters. She sent to her sister, not to expose anyone, but because she didn't know how else to deal with what was upon the feeling on set. She felt dismissive and unprofessional. She isn't taken seriously, just another yawn face in a room full of powerful people who didn't think twice about what they said or how it affected others. In 2017, long after she had moved on in life, Hunter shared her experience publicly, not to accuse, but to show how normal that kind of environment used to be. Her story wasn't about tearing anyone down, it was about honesty and how small moments can leave a lasting impact. The story got attention fast, not because ET was explosive, but because it felt so familiar to so many a young person had ching to learn, stuck in an environment where boundaries got blurred and being professional was a second thought. Beautif. You think that behavior was an time thing? Just look back to Thievery beginning, because even Hoffman's Brecht role was surrounded by tension. Catherine Ross, the awkward seduction that wasn't acting. The Graduate launched Dustin Hoffman into stardom, the fresh-faced outsider, up against the cool foreboding world of Mrs. Robinson on screen. The tension was unforgettable. But behind the scenes, things weren't nearly smooth. Catherine Ross, who played Elaine, later opened up about how strange and uncomfortable it was working with Hoffman during filming. She described the atmosphere as cold and distant, especially during scenes that required being vulnerable. Hoffman, still new to Hollywood, brought an intensity that didn't feel like teamwork. It felt tessellating. He wasn't warm between Takashi, didn't create a sense of ease or trust, which is especially important when filming intimate moments. Ross said the chemistry everyone saw on screen didn't exist off camera, and if it looks like Hoffman's character was socially awkward and emotionally disconnected, well, that part didn't require much acting. Even simple scenes felt heavy, and practice sessions lacked communication. Ross later hinted that while the performance worked, the process didn't. She blamed it on Hoffman being consumed by the role, something that would become a pattern in his career. There were no explosions, no headline scandals, just aquiote kind of tension. The kind that builds when one actor is locked in their own process and the other is left trying to keep up, and that early disconnect set tone for what so many others would experience for years to come. A brilliance on camera, but discomfort hindered the genius or the bully. Dustin Hoffman's career is undeniably 2 Oscars, countless famous roles, and a reputation for emotional depth that few actors can match. But behind that brilliance is a trail of tension, discomfort, and stories that paint a much more complicated picture, from Meryl Streep's emotional manipulation to battles with directors, co-stars fed up with his behavior, and interns who left feeling invisible. It's clear Hoffman didn't just make movies, he made an impact. For better or worse, some called it commitment to the craft, others called it ego. And now at 87, the legacy he leaves behind isn't just about his performances, it's about the people he clashed with to get them. So the question isn't just how great was he, it's what did greatness cost everyone else. Was Dustin Hoffman a misunderstood genius who pushed boundaries in the name of art? Was he just someone who pushed too far too often? Let us know what you think in the comments, and if you want more untold stories from Hollywood's golden age, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell. The truth behind the icons is just getting started.